ESG, environmental, social and governance issues, have been a topic here at the Insurance Market Briefing Europe. I'm Yvette Essend for AM Best TV, and I'm joined by Carlos Wong-Fupuy, Senior Director, and Jessica Botelho, Financial Analyst for AM Best, to talk about ESG principles and how they're being incorporated into our methodology. So Carlos, starting with you, can you give me a brief summary? What exactly is ESG?
That's a difficult question. First of all, because there is no standard definition of what ESG is. Probably, say, a more intuitive term would be socially responsible investments or ethical investments. But ESG tries to formalize these concepts, tries to make them establish a framework which is based on scores and give information to players in the market to make decisions based on them. I think that a recognition that there is no standard definition is that, for example, one of the main projects now by the European Commission is to try to develop a taxonomy on which players in the market can base their decisions and define clearly what ESG is.
One element of ESG is investment practices, which has been impacting companies. In what way has that been affecting companies, Jessica?
Sure. We've seen a number of market players taking on new approaches to make their investment portfolios more ESG friendly. What that means is we've seen sometimes companies divesting from their holdings in certain industries, perhaps coal manufacturers or controversial weapons. Other times, investors will be using their voting rights and engaging with management to push through more sustainable practices.
And it's not just investment portfolios that have been impacted by ESG, it's underwriting practices as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the underwriting side is a bit more complicated because there's not really, as Carlos said, a global industry-specific guideline on how to effectively integrate ESG within your underwriting process. So what we've really seen has been a variety of approaches being used by various market players, but by far I think the one most broadly used in the market is the use of exclusion criteria, whereby, again, sort of similar to what we're seeing on the investment side, companies will decide, insurers will decide not to underwrite business for certain companies, be that coal or controversial weapons.
And I would probably add that one of the challenges for companies is how consistent you can be when you adopt some of these investment approaches with your underwriting approaches. For example, companies which have decided to divest from coal projects are being challenged or are being criticized because at the same time they are still offering cover on coal-related business. So it is a question of timing, and consistency is something that companies are facing as a difficulty in this adoption.
Can we talk a little bit about credit ratings? What is the difference between credit ratings and ESG?
Well, we know that in certain circles there is a bit of confusion. When people talk about ESG scores or ESG ratings, they tend to think that, say, ESG assessments should be a subset of credit ratings. We don't think that that's the case, because in the case of credit ratings we are talking about credit quality. There is a potential contradiction. For example, you can be very green in terms of, investing in environmentally friendly projects, but which carry very high credit risk. So definitely we think that there are two different perspectives, but ESG scores and assessments can be complementary and more long-term than credit ratings.
Yeah. Sorry, all I'd add on that is that ESG risks and opportunities are inherently longer term in nature, whether that's climate change, changing demographics, etc. And the outlook on our credit ratings is typically 36 months, so 3 years. So we will consider ESG risks and opportunities if they have the potential to impact the analysis that we perform within that time horizon.
So does ESG have any implications for credit ratings?
Yeah, absolutely. As we've kind of just mentioned, provided they are relevant, as in they they fit within our time horizon and material, it certainly has the potential to impact any one of our 4 building blocks, be it balance sheet strength through natural catastrophe losses, operating performance, given any sort of changes in business mix and investment returns. Again, for business profile, demographic changes, and for enterprise risk management, we're explicitly considering governance, corporate governance, and how that may impact us, your enterprise risk management assessment.
So Jess, you've explained there how it can impact, it has been impacted, our methodology at the moment. Going forward though, what's likely to happen with our methodology and incorporating ESG?
Well, at the moment we consider that the main factors which are relevant and material are already being taken into account. We're not mentioning them explicitly. Say we'll continue to monitor the market. Say when we see that, say the relevance increases, we'll probably be a bit more explicit on that. But we'll keep informed, say all our stakeholders as we decide to do so.
So ESG, very much a hot topic at the moment, and going forward will be so. AM Best has got a couple of reports about ESG on our website at the moment, ambest.com, looking specifically into ESG practices. For AM Best TV in London at Insurance Market Briefing Europe, I'm Yvette Essen.